In my 30s, I built my career as a banking and finance attorney, working for federal regulators like the CFPB and the FDIC. I left my legal career behind to run my own company, One Big Happy Life, and publish a book about building wealth while enjoying your life. I had a baby and put my eldest child through college. I bought 3 houses and lived in 5 different states, and I increased my net worth by over $1 million. So, yeah, a lot happened in my 30s, and today I'm going to be sharing some of the financial lessons that I learned along the way. Hi, I'm Scarlett Cochran. I'm a lawyer, an author, and a wealth expert, and this is One Big Happy Life, where we help you build wealth while creating the life that you want every step of the way. Today, I'm going to be sharing 10 money lessons that I learned in my 30s. But before I do, I want to invite you to a brand new live money masterclass that I'm going to be teaching called Master Your Money: The 4 Keys to Building Wealth While Creating a Life That You Love Every Step of the Way. You can head on over to onebighappylife.com/masterclass or click the link up above, whichever direction it is, to save your seat. Join me live where I'll be walking you through the simple 4 steps to taking a self-led financial approach, which means managing your money in a way that feels good to you, that creates the outcomes that you want to create in your life. So letting go of cookie cutter financial approaches and trying to fit yourself in a box that never worked for you. What you will learn how to do is design a money plan and a money practice that works for you and the life that you're trying to create. So head on over to onebighappylife.com/masterclass and save your seat and join me live. All right, now let's get into these 10 lessons, starting with number 1, which is that being effective with money is a skill that you get better at over time. This was something that I didn't realize until I was in my 30s. In my 20s, I had this idea that I would get better at money when I was making more money. And the reason why I wasn't better at actually hitting my savings goals was because I wasn't making enough money. And so I told myself, well, okay, once we are through school, right? We as in me, and on the other side of law school, and now you're a lawyer and you're making money, that's when it's going to click for you and everything will just work out perfectly, because the one issue is that you're not making enough money. But what I really learned in my 30s was that it's not about the amount of money that you make, it's about the decisions that you make with the money that you have. And once I realized that in my 30s, I could look back on my 20s and see where there were opportunities for me to have made different financial decisions and started building better money habits much sooner. I just didn't know about those things until I was in my 30s. And really what caused that was the decision that I made that, hey, it's not possible for me in my 20s. I have to wait until I'm done with law school and I'm now in my 30s. Which brings me to money lesson number 2, which is that the decisions that you make affect your outcomes. And there are always things that you can do, no matter what is going on in your financial life, to best position yourself for success. And so the question that you always want to be asking yourself is that regardless of what your finances look like right now, how can you best position yourself to take advantage of whatever opportunities come your way? And a perfect example of that was last year when we ended up buying a house in this crazy market. Now, because we had spent our 30s really building our finances and building what we were capable of accomplishing with our finances, when we found ourselves in a very difficult housing market, suddenly needing to buy a house, we had the financial resources to allow us to do certain things, take certain risks, stretch a little to be able to get the house that we wanted, because that was the priority for us. And if we hadn't spent a whole decade beforehand putting ourselves in that position, then we would not have gotten the house that we wanted. So the lesson here to remember is no matter what is going on with your finances, the decisions that you make really do matter. They have a compounding effect on your life over time. So you want to make sure that you are making clear financial decisions. This is a concept that we spend a lot of time on inside of Wealth Builder Society. And when you make clear financial decisions, you're making conscious trade-offs, you're making values-based decisions. And so you're making a decision with far more clarity. You have an idea of what the outcomes are, and you understand that regardless of the results of each decision, that over time, as you're making those clear decisions, you're getting better and better results in your life. Money lesson number 3, you have control over how much money you make. This was something that I really took to heart in my 30s. When I graduated from law school, I made the decision that I didn't want to go to a big law firm. I didn't enjoy what the work-life balance was like there. I didn't enjoy the working environment. And so that meant saying no to $160,000 starting salary. And instead, I took a public interest job making $60,000 a year. And the decision that I made for myself was that this is where I'm starting, but I'm still committed to making the kind of money that I want to make in order to support the lifestyle that I want to have and my long-term financial goals. And so the question that I asked myself then is, how can I make the money that I want to make while also having the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to have? So I did not take the approach that I needed to wait for an employer to want to pay me a certain amount, or wait for an employer to give me, say, work from home days. I decided what I wanted, and then I started looking for the employers who would give that to me. And so for most of my 30s, I worked as a banking and finance attorney. And then I discovered entrepreneurship. So I discovered a whole new way to make the kind of money that I wanted to make while also having the kind of lifestyle that I want to have. And so now that I understand how to make money both as an employee and as an entrepreneur, I understand that now my ability to earn money is only limited by myself. I get to decide how much money I make because I can build my skills, I can build my capacity to earn money. And actually, that is why earning is one of the 7 money capacities that I teach about inside of my book. It's not about the money, because earning money is also a skill that we can develop over time. Money lesson number 4, if you keep telling yourself you can't afford it, you will likely not ever be able to afford it. I believe that we generally meet our expectations of ourselves. And when we get into this place where we're continually telling ourselves that we can't afford it, then what that does is close us off from the possibilities. And so instead of closing ourselves off from the possibilities of being able to afford a thing by just shutting the door and saying, I can't afford that, first of all, ask, can you actually not afford that? Or is that just a default thought? Or is it that you have other financial priorities that you're not willing to put aside in order to buy this thing, which then creates a different feeling in our brain. It's not that we can't afford that, it's that we're actively choosing not to buy that thing. And then secondly, we can ask ourselves, do we want to afford that? And if so, what would that look like? And what that does is get us practicing what is possible for us and our lives over time and gives us something to move towards. Well, this isn't a financial priority for me right now, but I want it to be in the future, and here's what that could look like. And the more we do that, again, the more we'll make decisions in alignment with that, and the more those decisions will compound to create better and better results for us over time. Lesson number 6 is that building the habit of saving is more important than the amount that you're starting with. And this was something that I didn't really learn until my 30s, because it wasn't until my 30s that I actually made the commitment to start saving and not touching it. And I realize now looking back that I could have started doing this in my 20s. I just, again, told myself that I didn't make enough money, that, $1 of savings didn't matter. But in reality, the habit of saving, the habit of putting money somewhere and not touching it is a far more important habit to build than the actual dollar amount. Like, yes, over time, the dollar amount that you're putting aside matters, but waiting until you have plenty of money that you just don't even mind putting that money in savings, and where there will never be a financial emergency or upheaval that will tempt you to go back into your savings, is actually a losing proposition, because life keeps happening. And in my 30s, I finally realized that life was going to keep happening. And if I waited for life to be perfectly stable and for nothing to go wrong and everything to go smooth for year after year after year, then I would never start saving. So the only reason why I started saving was because I made the commitment to do it and to start small. It also meant making the commitment to value saving for myself and investing in my future over every other financial goal. And that is what has allowed me to stay consistent even as life has been turbulent throughout my 30s. Tip number 7, you can pay with time or you can pay with money. In my 30s is when I really started moving away from a DIY approach to everything and started realizing the value of investing in convenience, investing in coaching, investing in support, so that I could accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish a lot faster. And this was something that I wasn't aware of in my 20s, that there are people out there who already know how to do what I want to do, and that it will save me so much time to just work with those people instead of trying to completely reinvent the wheel. Now, of course, I don't have infinite financial resources, so it's not like I can always spend money to save time. But again, this goes back to making conscious trade-offs and really thinking through the decision before just making the decision and automatically assuming that the best thing for me to do is to do it myself to quote unquote save money, because recognizing that time is also valuable and time is finite. So I want to make sure that I'm considering, at least asking the question, do I want to pay with money or do I want to pay with time? Can I pay with money versus using time? And is that the best use of my money versus my time? And when we ask ourselves those questions, again, we get to make better, more intentional trade-offs. We start to feel more in control of our lives. We see where we have choices and options, and we can make those decisions on purpose. Which brings me to money lesson number 8, which is spending on the things that bring me joy, add so much value to my life. Now, in my 20s, I spent on lots of things, but a lot of it was default spending. So spending habits that I inherited from my parents, spending habits based on what I saw people doing in society, on social media. And it wasn't until my 30s that I really started to ask myself, where do I like to spend? Where do I get the most joy and value from my spending? What actually matters to me? Which ways can I spend to enhance my life? And which ways am I currently spending that I actually don't really care about? And some of that was certainly trial and error, where I had this idea that, hey, I really enjoy this thing, or I think I might enjoy it, let me try it. And then I would try it and see whether or not I felt like it was actually worth it to me. And some of that is also recognizing that our priorities change. So there were times in my life where I wouldn't spend on certain things. So for example, for a long time, I didn't wear nail polish, whether it was doing my own nails or going out to a salon. And recently I've decided that I've been enjoying actually having my nails done. I still don't go out to a salon, but I started with nail polish and now I'm using dip powders because they last longer on my flimsy nails. And this is something that I would not have spent money on in my 30s, in my 30s, because I'm 40 now. And something else that I used to consider spending money on in my 30s, which is going to a hair salon. Now that I'm 40, I'm really settled into the idea of like just doing my own hair. I don't actually value spending in that way. But things that I have always enjoyed spending on, my house. So I'm a homebody. I have always had this idea of what I wanted my house to look like and the activities I wanted to be able to do in my house. And so what that means is I do spend more on my house. And more recently, I've discovered that I enjoy spending more for a car that has the features that I really enjoy. So Joseph bought a Genesis GV70 year before last, and I would have never thought of myself as a luxury car person, but every time we get in his car, it's such an enjoyable experience. Now, I still have my Dodge Journey that's like from 2012. It's the functional car that we use whenever we need to haul stuff, and I still enjoy that car, but every time we get in Joseph's car, I'm like, yeah, this is nice. And the heated seats on my back, I love it. So now I really embrace spending for joy, which of course is one of the financial principles that I teach inside of my book, but paying attention to where the value is in spending for me and paying attention to if my old spending habits start to no longer serve me and maybe I don't want to do this thing anymore. And it's so important that we that we make space for joy, first of all, but we also leave space for our changing preferences. We get to change our mind and decide that, hey, I used to like spending on this, but actually I don't anymore. And now I want to focus on this other thing. Financial lesson number 9, I create my own financial safety. In my 20s, all I could focus on was hurrying up and having the financial independence nest egg, right? Getting there by the time I was 50. And because in my mind, that's when I would be free. That's when I would actually be financially safe. And in my 30s, I discovered that I didn't have to wait until I was 50 to start living the lifestyle that I wanted. I didn't have to work a job that I didn't want to work for 20 years just to retire early. I didn't have to skimp and not spend on enjoying my life now just so that I could have quote unquote freedom later. And also, just because I was hitting financial goals, just because I had hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, didn't mean that I felt any more safe or secure. Because I quickly realized the more you have to lose. And so that fear of loss can cause a feeling of not being financially safe, even though you have more assets than you've ever had in your life. And in reality, the thing that creates your financial safety is your own thoughts, your ability to believe in yourself and your ability to show up and meet whatever challenges life has in store for you, no matter what. Because the reality is, no matter how much we amass over the course of our lives, anything can happen at any time. Like in my mind, the zombie apocalypse any day now. So it's a joke, but also not a joke. Just recognizing that we only have so much control over what happens in the world around us. And we need to be able to thrive no matter what. And there have been so many instances in human history where people have had to leave everything behind and start brand new in a new place. And recognizing that, I know that I create my own financial safety because yes, I've amassed wealth already. And I also know that if I had to start over from scratch in a brand new place, that I still have the skills and the determination and the belief in myself to build back better than before. And that is where true financial safety and security comes from, a belief in yourself and your ability to continue to do what you need to do to create the life that you want. And the last money lesson that I'm going to share with you today is that it is not about the money. It is about the life that you're creating for yourself along the way. I've said it time and time again that life is the thing that happens between your goals. And it's so important to not fixate on a goal and waiting until you reach a goal to start living your life or to start being happy. I'm so thankful that really in my 20s, I started to have this idea that, hey, I want to make sure that I am experiencing my life even as I'm working towards building a better life, that I'm creating meaningful and wonderful memories along the way and not deferring life until later, until I feel perfectly financially secure, until I've met some arbitrary financial milestone on some arbitrary timeline. And instead, I focused on enjoying the years of my life as they pass. Because here I am 40. My life is halfway over, maybe a little less than halfway over if I am lucky. And I am just thrilled looking back on how I spent the first 2 decades of my adult life. And I'm so glad that I didn't tell myself that I needed to wait until I was at a certain income level or had hit a certain milestone before I could do things like travel internationally, spend on the things that matter to me, which, includes like fine dining experiences, all the different things that we've pushed ourselves to do. Quit my job, like that was a big one. Quit and leave my legal career behind to be an entrepreneur, to run my own company, uncertainty and all. And if there was one lesson that I would want you to take away, this one would be number 2, right? Number 1 would be saving, because I think that that one is so important. But right behind this, really tied for number 1, is also this idea that we don't have to sacrifice our life and our life experiences, and we shouldn't, in order to reach financial goals. It's figuring out, how do you create the life that you want every step of the way, even as you're building towards your financial dream life? And that's the question that we're going to be diving even deeper into during the brand new live money masterclass, Master Your Money. So head on over to onebighappylife.com/masterclass, save your seat. I'll see you over there. And in the meantime, tell me down below which life lesson was your favorite. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.